And you are listening to WCUW 91.3 FM on WCUW.org. And you can find us online on Facebook as well at Dr. Chris's Radio Horror and the WCUW page on Facebook, and at radiohorror.wordpress.com. And I'm also on Pinster now as well under Dr. Chris Radio Horror. I just started a Pinster account. Why? I don't know. It looked interesting. I kept seeing what this Pinster thing was, and I said, sure, why not? I look at enough pictures online all day. I might as well pin stuff up for people to go, ooh. It's the stupidest thing in the world, actually. It's probably worse than Twitter, where people go, I'm now sitting on the toilet taking a crap. It's the same exact thing. Don't you agree, Neal?
Oh, I definitely agree. But you can't be on too many sites. I know you used to be MySpace back in the day. I don't think anyone goes there. You got Facebook, you got Twitter, you got them all. You got to get on all.
MySpace. MySpace got a bad rap for being the pedophile's playground.
Now that depending who you are, bad rap or good rap.
True. And on the show with us now is Neal.
Nasty Neal.
Neal Lee Jones, the host of Without Your Head podcast, which is every Tuesday or Thursday.
You calling the show, Mr. Reed. Every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. And to check out all the archives of WithoutYourHead.com. And
he also has a wrestling show as well, which I never listen to because I don't like wrestling.
That's right. That's on IYHWrestling.com, Wednesday nights, 8:05 p.m. Eastern. And not only is there the podcast on WithoutYourHead.com, there's a new video series, Dinner and a Movie with myself and Annabelle Lecter. And on the main show itself, it's myself, my brother Terrible Troy, Jittery John, and we just added a fourth co-host, Annabelle Lecter. It's a lot of fun.
Yep, and your most recent podcast, of course, talked about this past Friday was Friday the 13th.
Yes, it was. And we had our first annual Betsy Awards, which our little award show where we give out in honor of the Friday the 13th franchise.
Now, I got a question. How is that really going to go from year to year? We're not exactly putting out Friday the 13th films every single year.
The awards are going to, unlike other awards where it's best, every year it's the best movie, these awards are going to change every time. So it's going to be a whole new 13 awards every time.
Okay. All right. I believe it. Did Neal went to the Days of the Dead convention, which was held in Indianapolis, correct?
Right.
Yeah, Indianapolis this past weekend. We have yet to go to one of these. The last one we wanted to go to, which was in Georgia, financial problems destroyed our ability to go. We were all set up to do a broadcast there, and we had a free table. We were going to be put right in the celebrity room, and that was, the guy who runs it, Adolfo, he was hooking us up tremendously, but everything just fell through, and it just didn't happen. How was the convention this year compared to the last couple of times? Some people say it's okay, but there's things there other than celebrities.
I think it's an amazing weekend. I've been to all three of them. The last year in Indianapolis, I was at the one in Atlanta, and I was again here in Indianapolis. And to me, it's just an amazing weekend. I've been to some other horror conventions, not a million of them, but now people say some of them have more people at them, and that could be true. But the Days of the Dead, what sets them apart from the other conventions, it's a really just wild time. It's like anything can go. It's a little more adult orientated, and that doesn't mean it's like, there's like this there is madness going on, and I can't swear on here, but you can go and have a good time. You don't have to worry about getting into like wild orgies or anything, but it's a little more adult orientated, and a lot of parties afterwards, a lot of drinking. And it's just, to me, it's like a big group of friends, all the celebrities, all the vendors, all the guests there, and you just feel like you're part of it. You don't feel like you're underneath the celebrities. You don't feel like they're talking down to you. It really feels like everyone is just together having a good time. And I think that's really what sets Days of the Dead apart.
I'm glad you said that there's no orgies going on there, because the last thing we need to see is you and Harvey from Human Centipede 2 in an orgy. Well,
we did make out. There is a video evidence, myself and Lawrence Harvey making out. And, it was bringing, people were just flying into the theater for that. People were digging that. That was the first ever hack cinema. And it didn't go as planned. Now, just the idea of Hack Cinema is myself, Brad Thacker, and Will Bozarth. Brad Thacker's tenure in the business, stand-up comedian. Will Bozarth of Goddamn Zombies, GD Zombies, a great band out there. And we were gonna do like live riffing over film of Dead Heat. It didn't go as planned, but I think what happened was still a lot of fun. It was just kind of like a slow derailing into just total madness.
Other than Harvey from the Human Centipede, what were some of the other celebrities that were there?
Oh well, yeah, you had Jörg Bettergeit, who is the director of Necromantic. I believe this is only his second time he was ever at a convention. And then they had everybody that was there from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, pretty much all the Leatherfaces, not everyone, but most of them. Gunnar Hansen, R.A. Mihailoff, Bill Johnson was there. And then you had, of course, Tom Savini.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the greatest guys around. Who else is there? Ari Lehman's there, of course. You had Frankenhooker herself. She was there.
Now, not to speak bad of certain celebrities, but there's one thing I've got to point out because it's been mentioned multiple times. Last time Tom Savini was here at Rock and Shock in Worcester, he was more interested in talking with what's the director's name of Gremlins and the American Werewolf in London?
No, I'm not sure, but he was trying to talk to other celebrities. What you're saying?
Yeah, well, yeah, he was more interested in talking to that director than the fans.
I'm going to totally disagree. I've heard bad things about Tom Savini for years, and this is the first time I got to meet him. He was a really great guy. He played around with me. I was showing my top hat that was painted by Annabelle Lecter. And if you out there would like some personalized artwork, check her out on Facebook. But he was playing around with me. He was throwing the hat around. And if you watch a video interview with me and him, I think you could tell the guy's a really good dude. And I think the secret is you've got to treat him, just like anybody else, like a real person. Don't try to talk down to him or demand something. I just went up and started talking to him like, we were good buddies or whatever, and he treated me the same. So I have nothing but good things to say about Tom Savini. And that's not just because I was there. I mean, you can watch a video. I think you can see we're playing around with each other, and it was good times.
What was the coolest thing that you saw at this convention this last week?
Just the absolute coolest thing. Wow, it's hard to narrow down because really to me it's like the whole event is really cool. But meeting all the guys and hanging out with them, I really enjoyed the Hack Cinema because I was part of that one. It's the coolest thing. I gotta say, Lawrence Harvey. If you've never been to a convention with Lawrence Harvey, the guy is a man, and he is a guy. He's not just there to sign autographs and take pictures at his booth. I think a thing like him and what really stands out Days of the Dead because he's gonna hang out with you afterwards. You're gonna see him, walking around the hotel. You're gonna see him in the bar, and that adds so much to the convention when you have guys like that. He's not just worried about sitting at his booth signing autographs. He's walking around and just talking to everybody and having a good time. And to me, that's what the convention's all about.
Did you go to any conventions this weekend? Because there was a bunch of them going on. There was Connecticut Con, there was ReaderCon, there was San Diego Comic Con, or did you decide to stay home this weekend?
Well, I had to recuperate after Days of the Dead because it was 4 wild days for me. Probably about a couple hours sleep, lots of alcohol, and so I had a lot of recuperating to do. So I did not go to any of the conventions. But last night, actually, went to New Hampshire and filmed the 3rd episode of Dinner and a Movie, which will be up very soon on WithoutYourHead.com.
What movie did you watch?
We actually went to the theater this time. We went to Grand Guignol, which was the Theater of Terror, and it was a lot of fun. It was a small theater, and they had a lot of gore for this theater. It was pretty cool, and we talk all about that. And we actually got splattered with blood, so if you ever get a chance to see this, I think the last showing was tonight, I would recommend sitting in the splatter section, because that's part of the fun. If you're going to go to the theater, go all out and get splattered with blood.
Did you have a chance to see the new horror movie that opened this weekend nationwide? It didn't really open nationwide. I thought it was going to. It's called Red Light, starring Cillian Murphy, Sigourney Weaver, and Robert De Niro.
I did not see. I've heard a lot about that, but I have not seen it. Have you seen it yourself?
No, I the only thing that came out was the cartoon movie Ice Age 4. So the only highlight of that wasn't even the movie; it was the Simpsons short before it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which Matt Groening said at Comic-Con, the Simpsons short, The Longest Daycare, is the future of The Simpsons. They're going to be, after when the show finally ends, in 99, they'll become theatrical shorts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've only ever seen the first one. I've never seen any of the sequels. So I'm behind. I'm behind on my Ice Age films.
Yeah, I have a 5-year-old son, so I definitely had to go see it this weekend.
Oh, okay. You have an excuse then. I was kind of wondering about you there, Chris.
But say that again?
I was kind of wondering about why you were going to see that, but now you got a kid, I understand.
Yeah. Let's get your mind out of the gutter. What I did catch online on Netflix, because I wasn't sure if it was you or somebody else that posted on Facebook asking, what new horror movies have hit Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Play Misty for Me is on Netflix finally.
Really?
Yes, a movie for anybody who works in radio and in any form of radio, whether it be podcast, community, mass media radio. Play Misty for Me is the radio station for people who work in radio because it's about radio stalkers.
Mm-hmm.
Starring also one of the toughest tough guys around, Clint Eastwood.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of that, too, Talk Radio is a really good film about stalkers for radio hosts. I don't know if you've ever seen that film.
No, I haven't. The only two films I've ever seen that have to deal with a radio station as the setting, and I mean for the whole film. I don't mean like a cut in and out scene. Is Pontypool and the movie that
Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is it opens a lot of its in the radio station.
Oh yeah, that's true. Bill Moseley has a movie where it was directed by the guy who played the dentist in the movie, the dentist movies.
Right.
Yeah, that actor directed a movie starring Bill Moseley, who is trapped in who's being held hostage in a radio station by a terrorist as a terrorist attack is happening on American soil outside. And he's very Islamic Muslim, in all his radio broadcasts.
Right.
Which is kind of strange because he has a Muslim wife.
Mm-hmm.
So there's it's definitely more of a thriller than a horror movie, but obviously the horror element to go watch it is because Bill Moseley is the lead of the movie.
Yeah. Bill Moseley, because there's not a lot around right now, but he's definitely like one of the modern day horror icons.
True, and he's going to be in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D when it comes out next year.
Yeah, it's cool because there's a lot of people from previous Texas Chainsaw Massacre films in it, but they're playing different roles. I just kind of like that idea that they're including some of the more iconic guys from the different sequels.
Yeah, maybe at the end of the movie they'll have a little in remembrance of what's the actor's name who passed away from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2?
From 2? I'm not sure. Oh, just recently?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. He played the radio DJ.
No, he played the sheriff.
You sure?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, all right. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, he was in Lowrider, and he was in that god-awful Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah, he was in Beyond before he died, obviously, but it'd be a totally different show now if we had him on. But I know what you mean.
Yeah, what do you guys have coming up on your next podcast?
Well, I'm not really sure who we'll have on the next one, but I might just talk about stuff. I don't have any guests booked right now, but you can check out the website. I'm sure we'll have some people coming on in the near future. One thing I did remember about Days of the Dead, though, is the John Waters performance.
Correct, John Waters was there, yep, famous director.
Oh yeah, and that was just awesome. That was definitely one of the highlights for me. It was a stand-up with John Waters, and it was really cool because he basically went over each of his films and so a lot of the stories that are going on and off camera while he's making the movies, and then he kind of went into a lot of sexual deviance, and I won't swear here in the show, but it was very interesting and it was a lot of fun, and I learned some new things, and some of them I probably did not want to know.
Not especially when it comes from John. When it comes to John Waters, there are things best left unsaid.
Yes, and
he had
these were things that were even too far out for John Waters.
Do you remember the early part of the new millennium, VH1 had all those I love the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s documentaries.
Oh yeah.
He appeared on the I love the 70s and I love the 80s documentaries in a bunch of commercial bumpers, asking questions like, name which one of these movies is actually an adult film, and he would say like Shaft and a couple other things, and then explain why the title sounds like an adult film, but it's not, unfortunately.
Yes.
Yeah, and then he would end it with, I just found a copy of Debbie Does Dallas Part 4. Anybody want to join me?
Right. I think the thing about John Waters, even if you're not necessarily a fan of his films, because his films aren't for everybody,
correct.
Give him a shot, because I think the man himself is very entertaining, even if you might not like the man's movies.
Correct. The one thing with conventions that has everyone abuzz, and I don't know if tickets are still on sale, but I know they're very expensive, is in November, Jamie Lee Curtis is doing her only horror convention.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty, because that's definitely someone that fans have been dying, to see at a horror convention.
Yeah.
Just thinking all the Halloween stuff.
One and only time. She said, this is the only convention I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. But who knows? Maybe that could change. Maybe in a few years, maybe she'll do it again as she gets older and
if she enjoys the experience. I mean, she might think it's something she doesn't want to do, and she might go there and have a good time and think, this is something I might be interested in doing some more of them.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully she, doesn't come across any ridiculously crazy fan, and they all treat her with respect, and she has enough of a good time that, it kind of continues. Because, I mean, sometimes these people are worried about the fans mobbing them, you know what I mean? Or they've had stalker experiences, like, Danielle Harris had a stalker experience when she was a little girl, so sometimes she's a little gun-shy at conventions, and she still is. Right. Adrienne King had a huge stalker experience, why she completely disappeared for years after Friday the 13th. And then some people have had really great fan experiences. Like one person I've always seen just completely always embraces fans wherever is Doug Jones. Wherever he goes, wherever he's at a bar, he's at a restaurant. He's just really, he's very.
Those are the kind of people that really add a lot to the conventions. Now I know, like, if you have Jamie Lee Curtis there, it's going to bring a lot of people in because it's the first time meeting her. But to me, a lot of the times when you have the people like a Lawrence Harvey or a Doug Jones or Brian Steele, these kind of guys, even Bill Moseley, that really spend the weekend talking to the fans, away. Not always just at the booth, but even away from the booth. To me, that really adds just a lot to the atmosphere of a horror convention.
Absolutely.
Now, I don't want to just sit here and people think, oh, he's just praising Days of the Dead nonstop. He's not saying anything negative. I will have one negative story, and that was we had a booth in the Without Your Head booth. We're selling shirts and we're interviewing everybody, and right next to me was Ian White. Now, Ian White, he's in the movie Prometheus. He played one of the Predators. He's basically tall, so he gets roles for playing tall people.
Neal, back up for a second. Who was he in Prometheus?
He was one of the the big the engineers. He's one of the engineers.
Okay.
So he was a guy in a suit, basically. Now you sit next to us all weekend. Now, if you're ever at a horror convention, if you have a table, you got a booth. I mean, you're sitting right next to him, so you get kind of a bond going with. You're like your buddies. You're spending the weekend together. You're talking back and forth because there's some downtime there. And then Sunday rolls along. We've been interviewing all the fans there. We've been interviewing a lot of the actors there. I hosted one of the Q&A panels. And so I was like, well, you want to do this interview now? And he looks at me and he says, don't take this personally, but I do not want to be seen on video with you.
Ow.
And then he added, when I said, well, how about just a video, you can say, check out withoutyourhead.com. And he says, I will not endorse you. And to top this all off, when we were coming back to the booth a little bit later, there was like a line of other podcasts there doing he's like, line up, buddies, I'm doing these interviews with you. So he would talk to everybody else except me. Not even talk to me. He did not want to be seen on video with me. Now, I don't know how he thought I couldn't take that personally, but I think it was like so offensive that it just like transcended, like just being offensive. I just found it like humorous, but it was, wow. I couldn't believe that someone even talked to another human being like that.
That's,
So I'm making it my goal. If you go to a horror convention and you see Ian White, just come up and tell him that story and say, you know what? You dissed my man, Nasty Neal at WithoutYourHead.com, so you're not getting any of my time, Ian White. Yeah, you're tall. Big deal.
Wow, that is pretty insensitive.
Yes.
I wonder why he said that.
I don't know. He's just, I don't know. I don't know if he's intimidated. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if he might have been offended at some of the interviews we were doing. I mean, sure, I might ask questions about fleshlights and some other off horror topics, but I'm just trying to have a good time here.
I don't know.
He's at a horror convention. What does he think he is? I mean, come on. He's just a tall guy that puts suits on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough about him, but it definitely sounds absolutely insensitive and a little mean.
Yes, definitely. And my other friends there, especially John Dugan, is a good man, played Grandpa in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He stood up for me, and we had a lot of fun with Ian White later that night in the bar. We were we're in the bar, we're talking to John Dugan, I told him that story, and here comes Ian White walking right into the bar. And he's waving around, he gives us a big fake wave after the man just totally dissed me. That's just a human being, said he won't even, doesn't even be in my presence. And then real loud, John Dugan starts talking, he's like, you know what, Neal Jones? I will do an interview with you anytime. And he just turned right away, fake smile, fake wave gone, turned right around to the bar and didn't look back at us. And I was like, that's a hell of a man, John Dugan. Plus the man is 7'1", and I'm 5'5", so he would totally obliterate me if he got mad enough. But I don't care. The man really dissed me, and I'm not letting it go, Ian White.
Wow. Did you have a chance to check out any of the horror updates from Comic-Con?
No, what's going on at Comic-Con?
There's a new TV series coming to the CW called The Following, starring Kevin Bacon as an FBI agent, tracking serial killers. And they said they're going to push the envelope like crazy on the amount of gore and blood they can get away with on network television.
Really?
Yeah, and it's going to be on the CW, too, which is, kind of interesting, so.
Yeah, I think it's good nowadays that, Dexter was real big, it's ending soon, but Dexter's real big, True Blood, The Walking Dead.
Supernatural.
Yeah, all these horror shows are really big now, and that opens up the door for other channels, these other shows are big and people are watching them, so we should get our own. And, that's really good for horror fans out there because now we get to see some more, horror TV shows. Yeah,
and since we're not getting any good horror movies.
Yeah, there aren't many horror films opening up lately.
No, they're all coming out in the next few months, it seems. I've seen 6 trailers for 6 horror movies coming out in the next, few months. In August, between August and October, there's 6 or 7 horror movies coming out. And there, three of them are kids' horror movies, and the other 4 are adult horror movies.
So what's coming out there that you want to be checking out there, Chris?
The House at the End of the Street. That's a Memento-style movie. The Apparition, which is about the people who don't believe in ghosts, and they're like, the only reason people believe in ghosts is because they think about it too hard, and these people think about it too hard, and they make a ghost appear, and the ghosts don't go away.
Right. So it's basically a movie about me.
Paranorman.
What's that one about?
That's about the little boy with the spiky hair who sees dead people and nobody believes him that a zombie invasion coming to his town.
I was just saying that's a Sixth Sense, I believe. But I see.
But it looks really cool. I mean, it's like, there's a lot of creepy stuff they show in the trailer. The kids' ringtone is the Halloween music. Frankenweenie.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
And Hotel Transylvania, which is, a lot of people being thrown off the fact that Dracula is being played by Adam Sandler.
Yes.
And his daughter is played by Miley Cyrus.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so that's already 2 strikes against the movie. But I'm looking past the fact that those actors are in it, and the fact that the animation looks cool, and you have all these monsters in it, and the monsters need a place to get away from, society to just relax, because their job is to scare people and to be a monster. But at some point they need to go on vacation. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's a movie coming out starring Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I forget what it's called, but he buys his daughter a box that can't be opened except for because there's no lock on it. It's like a box without a lock, but he pries it open anyway, and a demon escapes and possesses his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
The Possession. The only thing I know about that is it shows a girl standing underneath the streetlight looking up at it. And
I assume it's about possession.
Probably. And Hatchet 3 is supposed to be out by...
that Hatchet 3 is weird because it's not directed by Adam Green.
No, but it's produced by him and written by him.
Yeah.
He wanted to step back because he's making his TV series, so he couldn't do both.
Mm-hmm.
So he handpicked a director to make the movie, but apparently it's from the people who have seen test footage and stuff. It's the same. For one thing, Kane Hodder comes back again to play Victor Crowley. So you got something good right there, and then you got anyone who lived from the the second movie coming back, which would only be Daniel Harris.
Mm-hmm. But I'm a big fan of Adam Green. He's a really nice guy. I had him on the show several times. He's actually lived originally fairly close to me, and he's one of the better younger directors out there who wants to make original stuff.
There's a movie coming out. It came out on Blu-ray just before Comic-Con. I can't wait to get a copy of it. It's from Synopsis Films. It's not a lost movie, but it's just not a movie that's been released on DVD or Blu-ray. It's from the Hammer Horror Collection called Twins of Evil.
Mm-hmm.
Stars Peter Cushing and the Playboy Playmate Collinson twins.
Mm-hmm.
They're like twin vampire chicks that Peter Cushing does what Peter Cushing does best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
besides playing Grand Moff Tarkin.
Right.
Now, do you read a lot? The one thing I noticed about your shows, do you ever read a lot of horror books or horror comic books?
Well, I've been reading The Walking Dead for a long time, and actually on the show for years, I always said I would make a great TV show, before it became a TV show. So I was pretty happy when the TV show started. I have some problems with the TV show, but I was really happy at the end of season 2. And anybody out there reads the comic, you really geeked out at, Michonne and it was, showing the prison. Just some of the great stuff from the comic book. So I'm really looking forward to, season 3. I don't really read many other but I'd be up for suggestions if anyone out there has, some, good horror, comic books that they would suggest that I, read. I also read the Dexter novels, which are, I love the show and the books, but they actually go off in very different paths after season 1 and book 1, and it's kind of cool because it's kind of like the character that you like in 2 different worlds, because they're very different, the books and the series. But I definitely recommend them for anyone who likes the idea of Dexter.
I would recommend for comic books, Hack Slash.
Okay.
It's about a goth girl and her monster friend Vlad. They go around the country hunting down slasher serial killers.
Uh-huh.
And in terms of classic comics, I would highly recommend. They're all reprinted in trade paperbacks. You don't hunt down the individual issues. You can just buy the books themselves. The Tomb of Dracula by Gene Colan and Marv Wolfman. Mm-hmm. Which is, that's the comic book that takes place within the Marvel Universe, so Blade first appeared in Tomb of Dracula.
Oh, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, I'm not really up on the comic book scene, but I would definitely like to get into it.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot out there, so you got to make sure you're careful what you buy, because there's a lot of garbage, and there's a lot of tongue-in-cheeky stuff, and then there's some well-written stuff. Oh, there's another one, is... Lock and Key by Joe Hill, which has just been announced to be made into a movie.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, Horns. That's the movie coming out based on his book. It's about a guy who wakes up and he's on the run from the law because his girlfriend was found raped and murdered, and he's the only suspect. And whenever he gets near people with evil, like his demonic horns start protruding from his head. Mm-hmm. So he believes he could be the one that did it. I think it stars supposed to star, I think, like Elijah Wood or Tobey Maguire. It's supposed to star somebody that's not typically known for playing, this type of character, but that's what they need. They need a goody kind of guy to play the character.
Yeah.
So there's, but again, highly recommend Lock and Key by Joe Hill. The artwork is fantastic. It was actually picked up to be made into a TV series, and they made the pilot, and Fox announced that it was going to be launched, and they were all set to start airing it, but they got the word that Steven Spielberg had finished on his dinosaur show, whatever the heck that was called. They got canceled after one.
Yeah, it was bad.
And a lot of the fans were like, geez, you went with the dinosaur show, which cost you like $2 million an episode, where you could have gone with the spooky Lock and Key gothic show, which didn't require didn't require the CGI level dinosaurs we saw in Jurassic Park.
Yeah. It's weird. I always think that Jurassic Park, when it came out, it was like the start of CGI, and it looked so awesome. You were really like in awe. I remember sitting in the theater and watching it. And since then, you would think CGI would have gotten better, but I think because it's gotten so much cheaper to use, for the most part, it's so much worse looking than it was in Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I mean, Terminator 2 is the same thing. I mean, you look at the CGI in that, and you're like, holy crap, this is the future of movies. Look at that thing. That's amazing. But then, of course, afterwards, that Terminatrix in T3 looked ridiculous compared to Robert Patrick's Terminator in Terminator 2.
Yeah. I think a lot of it, because you watch Jurassic Park, you can tell that, if you watch the specials, that they put so much, pressure on everybody to make everything look so good. And then, if you got a director who doesn't really care that much, they're just going to use a shortcut with the CGI and just to get it done. But you have to have someone there who's really, wanting this stuff to look flawless. True.
I mean, these science fiction movies are hit or miss, whereas you look at all the superhero films that have come out and the CGI they're using, and it's making them billions. I mean, look at the Avengers. Look at Spider-Man. Look at the Dark Knight. They all use CGI on a lot of levels, and it comes across as good.
Yeah, I'm not just totally hating on CGI because I think you can use it to your benefit, but I think there's a lot of times they just use it as a shortcut, and if it's done well, it looks great, but if it's not done well and used like so much, it does not look good. And there's still something, from my childhood that I like to see, practical effects and monsters and real, monsters out there, real gore and stuff, and that's a lot of fun.
But the True Blood, in True Blood, when the fangs extend, that's CGI, right?
Yeah.
Which is like, why? Why do you need to have that? I mean, they went into explanation that, a mechanical pencil, when you click it for the lead to come out?
Yeah.
That's the noise that the vampires make when they extend their fangs. But there's no reason for it to be CGI. And they said they tried to have a mechanical piece put in the actor's mouth or whatever that they could hit with their tongue, and the fangs would extend outward or whatever, and then they would switch the shot to put the prosthetic fangs in, so they don't have to have that piece in their mouth for the whole scene. Mm-hmm. But every time they kept hitting it, whatever, the fangs kept flying at the cameras left and right. Mm-hmm. And I remember it's just like, what about just the cutaway? You know what I mean? We don't have to see the fangs extend. You could do the cutaway or do the close-up or whatever. Yeah. But I just something as simple as that, I just don't believe needs to have CGI.
Yeah, when I was talking to Tom Savini, we got the video up from my interview with him at Days of the Dead, and what he said, and I thought was interesting, that CGI is a tool to use. So, like, if you're an artist, now, anyone can learn to actually use a brush, anyone could conceivably learn to use CGI, but what you do with those tools is what makes you an artist.
True, yes. That is definitely true. I liked it when you guys were debating over what Friday the 13th films did Tom Savini work on. It was part 1 and 4. Yeah, I mean, heck, they should have him back in the next Friday doing the makeup for the next Friday the 13th movie that they make.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah. Are they ever going to do another one? I mean, they restarted the franchise, and then and I think it was a hit. I'm not saying I loved it, but I thought it was a pretty sizable hit, for that kind of movie, and they never did another one.
I think it was. I don't remember where I remember reading it or hearing it from, but I do remember seeing it when posted on IMDb. IMDb posts on Sunday at the end of the day the box office listings, and they tell you what's going on at the box office. And they said that Friday the 13th had a huge opening for the movie, $40 million. But the second weekend, it dropped like 70%. It was bad. It was a horror. I mean, the movie barely made over $60 million. They said there's no reason why Friday the 13th shouldn't have made almost $100 million. But the problem is that the second weekend or whatever, it just went into the toilet. And that's why Paramount and New Line, because it was a joint collaboration, because Paramount owns the copyright to the name Friday the 13th, New Line owns the character Jason. So they have to collaborate to make the movie together, because Paramount doesn't want to give up their Friday the 13th logo for some reason. When they could just sell it to Warner Brothers, who owns New Line now, it's about how much buck it makes. You know what I mean? But the problem is, you make a Friday the 13th movie for $50 million for some stupid reason.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I don't know why someone would expect it to make $100 million. I mean, has any of them previously did that? I don't think so.
Nope.
I think there's an audience for the horror films.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's an audience for the horror films, and I think no matter how good or bad the movie is, a Friday the 13th movie is going to make a certain amount of money. There's going to be an audience that goes to see it. But I don't think you should have expectations that it's going to be like this $100 million movie.
I don't, and do you believe there's no reason, absolutely no reason whatsoever, a Friday the 13th movie should cost $50 million?
No, well, movies cost so much now, but I don't know why that one costs that much.
Look at, what was that movie with the aliens that come down to live in Africa?
Something 19.
District 9.
District 9, there you
go. That cost only $30 million, but you look at that thing and you go, Jesus Christ, that only cost $30 million? That was huge.
Yeah, Insidious, I think that was like the biggest money-making movie. Yeah, for that year.
Not even $1 million. It didn't even cost $1 million.
Mm-hmm. And that movie also was PG-13, which, I know a lot of people are against PG-13 horror films, and I think that proved that you can make a PG-13 horror movie. It doesn't have to be childish. I mean, when watching it, that never crossed my mind that that there was PG-13. It wasn't swearing. It wasn't all this stuff. It was a good movie.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to have nudity and the F-bombs and guts being ripped out by a ghost to get across a scary movie. And there are scenes in Insidious that generally creeped me out, like when he went to the gray world.
Mm-hmm. That was one of my favorite movies I saw at the theater that year.
That was that last year?
Yeah, or maybe even the year before. Yeah. Time flies.
It doesn't make a lot of sense why Nightmare on Elm Street, yes, I can kind of understand that they need to spend a lot of money on a budget in order to make Freddy's Dream World look, unbelievably gothic and weird. I mean, that makes a little bit of sense. But even that still doesn't need to cost $50 million.
Yeah.
And I understand things cost a lot more money than they did in 1984 when Wes Craven made his movie. Mm-hmm. But are you kidding me? $50 million? It's not like you need that much of a large marketing campaign to get Freddy and Jason fans to come see the movie. They already exist. They gotta bring their kids to see it.
And that goes back to CGI too, because I think that was a movie where the CGI was bad, and I quite honestly, I think the special effects in the original Nightmare on Elm Street looked way better than the remake did, especially like scenes where he's coming through the wall. And that was done real cheap in the first one, and the second one they're using CGI, and you could tell it's fake. It looks like a cartoon. It doesn't hold up to the original one.
Yeah, I mean, didn't George Lucas make all his Star Wars movies without CGI? And then, yeah, I know, I'm using a really bad example, but...
Well, it was uninvented at the time, but yeah.
It's like, I guess we just don't have any type of puppeteering guy available to us anymore. when you have like Stan Winston and Jim Henson pass away, you just don't have anybody that has that type of effect work.
Yeah, that's too bad.
It's just ridiculous. I mean, what's next? If they do the Tales from the Crypt remake like they're planning, television series, the Crypt Keeper is going to be CGI. He's not going to be a puppet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was to mention too. John Kassir was actually at Days of the Dead.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, John Kassir is a really nice guy.
Yeah, it was really fun to meet him, and it's weird. You see him, and then he does that voice, and it was like, oh my god, it's the Crypt Keeper. But you see him, and you don't really think the Crypt Keeper, but the voice comes out, and it's like, wow, that's pretty awesome. I'm next to the Crypt Keeper right now.
How are the costumes, by the way? That's another thing I forgot, because I'm looking on Facebook right now at Kinetic Con and San Diego's, the hot costumes that some of the women wore.
Oh, yeah. There's tons of costumes at Days of the Dead. They had the whole costume contest where they picked a winner for the Monsters Among Us, and then I believe his name was Nick, who won, and then he's now become part of the Monsters Among Us. And this is a group of basically fans who dress up as Jason and Freddy and just all the different people, and they become more than fans. They become like a part of Days of the Dead and some other horror conventions, and they go around and really add a lot to the show. But it's really fun to be at part of the costume contest, to see all this planning and all this effort that these people put in to make these costumes. But you're just talking about the hot chicks in costumes. Is what
that's the most important thing.
There are a lot of hot chicks walking around at Days of the Dead, I will have to admit. Especially if you make it to the Girls and Corpses beauty pageant, and that is a wild time. And I've been to all three at Days of the Dead. I've recorded them all, and I gotta say this one was above and beyond the wildest of the Girls and Corpses pageant. And I had a pretty good view. I was up on stage right behind Corpsey. Now, some of my pictures, some of the videos, are going to have to be edited because we have to take out certain body parts that cannot be seen on Facebook or YouTube. I don't mean like elbows.
Oh yeah, I gotcha. Hey, you should come to. You should do one of your dinner and a movie things here in Worcester with with me. Bring Annabelle as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have to. She's my co-host. I can't do one without her. The show is her.
We'll go to we'll watch one of the upcoming horror movies. Even one of the kid ones, and then we'll go to like Coney Island or something like that. You know what I mean?
Coney Island. All right. We'll see, man. What you're saying earlier. Now, for everybody out there, real quick, dinner and the movie. We go and see a horror movie. Then we review the movie over dinner. We try to pick a location that's not a chain. But sometimes it's hard because we're doing it in the middle of the night and not many places are open. So it's a combination of a review of a movie and a review of a local eatery, and we also try to interview the patrons at the theater, and so it's a whole bunch of stuff going on there. And it's just kind of banter between myself and Annabelle. I think it's a lot of fun. People are really enjoying them. We've only done a few, but it seems like people are digging them. And I want to give a big shout out to Coolidge Theater, because they do Coolidge after midnight every weekend. They play kind of cult films at midnight, and they're really good to us, and they actually let us film in the theater itself. So we'll be doing some more of those in upcoming weeks. And this is a spoiler here. I think it's the first time I mentioned anywhere, but in 2 weeks, it's not set in stone yet, but we'll probably be doing something in New York, Annabelle and I. So, fans of my wrestling show, I'm going to be taking off that week, but it'll be good times.
Cool. One last question I always ask every guest that's on here. I know this is a really hard question, but I also kind of broadened it out a little bit. What is your favorite horror movie and favorite horror television show? Because, again, horror TV has become so big, but it's always been there, just not as big as it is currently.
Mm-hmm. My favorite horror TV show of all time?
And your favorite horror movie, yes.
I'm going to say horror movie first. It's Creep Show. I grew up watching Creep Show. I love the idea of small short stories in a movie. I wish they would do more of those more quality ones. I've always liked that. And all of them, not only because I watched as a kid, so when I watch it now, it really reminds me of being a child and having fun watching a horror movie. And all the short stories are fun, and they're all different. There's just so much to them. I like all the backgrounds that it has a comic book feel. I like the gore in it. I like the comedy. I think everything works in Creepshow. Can't get enough of Creepshow. Favorite TV show? I really like Tales from the Crypt. Again, that's kind of like an anthology, almost like Creepshow, but as an on-running show. Not every episode's perfect, but a lot of them are really great. So I'm going to say Creepshow, and I'll put Tales from the Crypt there. But I really am a big fan of Dexter as well.
Cool. Yeah, no, I definitely love both of those. You can always usually find those Tales from the Crypt, Vault of Horror hardcover books at conventions. Someone's always selling like a set of those. You noticed?
Mm-hmm.
I wish they would come out in trade paperback. You know, it'd be a lot easier to buy them and be a heck of a lot less space on your shelf.
Yeah, I've got the hardcover old Tales from the Crypt. The reprints of the EC Comics.
Yep.
Huge fan of them. And I don't know if everyone knows that, but actually the Tales from the Crypt TV show, every episode was based off an original story from the Tales from the Crypt comic book.
Yeah, most of them.
I believe all of them except for when they did the UK ones.
Oh, so every single, all 7 seasons were based on comic books from Vault of Horror and Tales from the Crypt?
I believe so, yes.
Huh. Yeah, I'm waiting for those to come out on Blu-ray. I don't want to buy them on DVD. I would rather wait for those to all come out on Blu-ray.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's at first I was kind of resistant to get the Blu-ray, but once I got it in HD TV, you can really tell the difference. And you're kind of resistant to buy DVDs because you know, like, well, the Blu-ray is going to come out, and I hate to have the DVD. But most Blu-ray players, when you put the DVD in them, it really upgrades the DVD, and it's almost Blu-ray quality. Well, not quite, but if you get them cheap, I still think it's worth picking up the DVDs.
Did you hear what box set just came out that sold out like within a week?
What was that?
The complete, for $600, the complete Dark Shadows television series on DVD sold out in a week.
Wouldn't that have to take like a lifetime to watch? Because wasn't it on for like 20 seasons, and every day is like, I think I read one time it would take you like a year to watch it all. Like
there are 1,500 episodes.
Damn.
Half hour each.
Okay, so it's 750. Wow, it's a long time.
Yeah, there are over 1,500 episodes. It's going to be re-released in October when the Tim Burton movie comes out. But they also just announced that House of Dark Shadows and Night of Dark Shadows, the 2 films that came out after the TV series ended, are also now coming out on Blu-ray and DVD.
Well, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and Tim Burton should have watched House of Dark Shadows before he went and made Dark Shadows, I think.
I have not seen it, but I don't know if I could bring myself to even watch it. I was really looking forward to it when I heard that he's making it, and then I saw that trailer, and I was like, oh my god, I just do not believe I can watch this movie.
No, you really, it was painful at times. I mean, there were certain things in it I kind of like chuckled, or there was a couple things in it I was like, well, that's kind of cool, but man, oh man, I was just overall completely disappointed in the movie. It's like, wow, Tim Burton has had his first disaster of a film since Sleepy Hollow and Mars Attacks came out.
Yeah.
Because he's had a string of successful films over the last 10 years with like Big Fish, Alice in Wonderland, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Sweeney Todd. Yeah. I mean, they've all been really successful. Mm-hmm. And then, I guess,
Yeah. As a fan, I was, more, I mean, it's interesting how much movies make, but as a fan, really more interested, how I personally enjoy the movie, not necessarily how much money it made. It could be a big flop, but I could love it, or it could be a huge hit, and I don't like it. But just the look of that, no matter if it was a hit or not, I really know, just to not look like a movie I would be interested in seeing.
What's your next convention you're going to be at coming up, Neal, before we let you go?
We'll be at Rock and Shock.
Yeah, Rock and Shock. I'll be there. I'll be broadcasting.
All right, so maybe a Sunday, Annabelle and I will be in the studio with you.
That would be fantastic. We had Mark Patton and Kane Hodder in the studio last time.
Oh, excellent. Mark Patton. Love Mark Patton. He actually holds the record for the person I've interviewed the most. So it's a good.
Yeah, we had those guys. The year before we had the Dread Central. Their whole crew that didn't have to jump in a plane with Uncle Creepy and fly back to California. They all came on the show, and last year it was Mark Patton and Kane Hodder, and the year before that we had New England horror writers in the studio and a couple other people. So every year we try to have guests from Rock and Shock in the studio. So yeah, definitely, please, you and Annabelle and anybody else from your podcast that comes to Rock and Shock, they can come and hang out with us for the 2 hours that we're on the air talking about the convention. That's pretty much all we do is we just go over everything that happened in those 3 days, which is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that's pretty sweet, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd definitely like to do that. Now, then after that, we'll be, hopefully, Annabelle and myself will be at the Days of the Dead in Chicago.
You should also go to, I highly recommend checking out Aresia. It's more science fiction than horror, but there's a ton of panels to go to, hosted by people that are in certain genres of television, radio, book authors, radio like myself, that discuss certain things within the genre of science fiction, fantasy, and horror. And there's usually probably about 24 horror-related panels compared to the hundreds of science fiction-related panels. But there's definitely something there for the horror fan, because there's also an art gallery, and there's a lot of artists that have a lot of morbid gothic artwork, and a couple of movies they show sometimes are also along the lines of the horror genre. So I highly recommend checking out Aresia in January of 2013. It's Martin Luther King Day weekend every single year.
Where's that at? Where's that located?
Boston.
Oh, okay, so it's near me, so that would work out.
Yeah, it's the same weekend every year, Martin Luther King Day weekend, so they can have a 4-day convention.
Awesome.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and ending Monday. Mm-hmm. And again, it's a lot of fun, and again, I know a lot of it's more science fiction than horror, but there's definitely something there for the horror fan.
Cool. I'll definitely check that out.
Cool. Plug your website, plug your podcast, and then you can go to bed.
All right, well, check me out, check myself out, check out Jittery John, check out Terrible Troy, check out Annabelle Lecter, Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern at withoutyourhead.com. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be Thursday night. Check out anytime. Totally free archive of all 7 years of the show. Not only is the audio show there, you can also check out the new video series of myself and Annabelle Lecter, Dinner and a Movie, and find us on Facebook. Just search for Neal Jones, search for all the names there. Search for Without Your Head. It's good stuff. And check out iwatchwrestling.com if you're into wrestling. If you just can't get enough of me talking, check out iwatchwrestling.com. We don't just talk about wrestling. We talk about a lot of nonsense. It's a lot of fun. And there's all kinds of guests. There's all kinds of interviews. There's just all kinds of stuff going on. And there's going to be tons of videos coming up there, too, on withoutyourhead.com from Days of the Dead. So check it out.
Cool, Neal. Thank you so much for coming on the show with us.
Well, thank you for having me, Dr. Chris.
No problem. Again, please make sure you come back on the show the weekend of Rock and Shock in October.
All right, I will.
Maybe I'll be announcing those any week now. They should be announcing the guest lineup for Rock and Shock, because they usually do it by August or late July.
Yeah, what I've actually heard is they're actually redoing their website. So I think they're waiting for the new website to come up before they start announcing some of the guests.
Cool. Awesome. Again, Neal, thank you so much for coming on the show with us.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
No problem. You have a good night.
You too.
And I'll tune in on Thursday night.
You're a good man.
Awesome. Later.
Bye.